story to inspire them to chase their dreams. There were times in his life where he had to absolutely fight to survive, and we'll hear a little bit about that tonight. His own compelling story of overcoming adversity is a reminder that anyone can turn their life around with the right mentorship, belief and support. This is why he's so committed to the power of being defiant, because it has helped him recover his own life. He is defiant. So please join me in welcoming Dan Burgess.
Thank you, Randy. I have to take you everywhere with me. Wow. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
How are you?
Great.
Awesome. I want to thank you all for coming, and I want to thank you all on so many levels. There's so many familiar faces in this room. And this message, like I do a fair bit of speaking, but this message is something that I wanted to share for such a long time. So I'm really excited to share that with you, and that's the power of storytelling. And so my name's Dan. I'm one of the trainers and one of the mentors here at TCI, as well as I've got my own business in speaking and also take people on crazy adventures into the mountains in Australia, and which I love to do. Now, I want to share with you the power of storytelling. I want to share with you how to embrace your story. My belief is that we've all got an amazing story that is worth sharing, and some of us believe that we don't, and some of us believe that we do. And if you do believe that you do, this might help you with the tools as well that you can use to share your story. Does that sound like a good use of our time tonight?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yeah. Loves it. Love it. Cool. Shakespeare says that the world is a stage and we're all actors. The hero in every story has a feeling deep inside them, a sense that there is a grander purpose in their life, and somehow they know there's a different path in their future. And to set forth to new lands, that hero has to leave the old world behind and take the knowledge and experience with them into the new world. But it is in that moment that the hero has to make a choice. Stay in the old world, it's pretty warm, pretty cozy and safe, or go on an adventure where he or she is not entirely sure how the journey will end. And the hero faces ordeals and trials on that journey, and different people and mentors come into their life at the right time for the right reason. And they have gifts, lessons and wisdom that the hero needs at that time. And I believe that the people in this room are those people. Turn to the person next to you and say, I'm in the right room. You in the right room? Yeah. So if it's okay with you, I'd like to spend a small amount of time leaving the old world and the busyness of our day behind so we can be present and in the moment for this event. Is that cool?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Awesome. Right, so research shows that our heart has an intelligence to it, the same as the brain. So when our heart and our brain have coherence, we effectively make better decisions and we can connect with our surroundings on a deeper level. So I invite you all to please stand up. Cool. And I want you to place this part of your hand right there on your breastbone. And I want you to close your eyes. Just take a few deep breaths while focusing on your heart. And I invite you to dare to dream bigger. And I want you to say to yourself, you can say it out loud if you want, that my story matters, as in your story. And I want you to open your eyes and look around the room and tell me what you see. And feel free to just yell it out, because I think we're all friends. Oh, I like that. Thank you, Jeff. Cool. Thank you. What else?
Truth.
Oh, truth. Can I just put extra forward?
Yeah.
Because my spelling is real test.
Experience.
Experience, yes, thank you.
Uniqueness.
Ooh, really good at this. Uniqueness.
Diversity.
Okay, diversity. What was the next one?
Vibration.
Oh, yeah, I love that. Confidence. Vibration.
Yeah.
Oh,
Curiosity.
oh. This is really good.
Enthusiasm.
I'm just going to put in twos, okay? I'm just going to put in twos.
Fear.
Everyone's trying to trivia. Yes?
Fear.
Fear, yes. Fear's a healthy part of life, isn't it? It's pretty scary sharing our story with the world for the first time. Yes or no? Yeah. It should be, right? Like we're putting ourselves out there into the world to be judged. But what's the risk of us not sharing our story?
Regret.
Regret. Yeah. What else?
Not reaching our potential.
Not releasing.
Not releasing, yeah. Not healing.
Not reaching potential.
Not reaching our potential. And not helping other people reach their potential. Because each of us has a story that someone else is going to be inspired by. Because you might think, well, Dan's got a crazy story, or such and such got a crazy story, my story's not as crazy. It doesn't matter. Like, our story matters. Because we're like 8 billion people in the world, everyone's got a story that matters. And that story that we can craft and share in a way that can inspire others. Sound like fun?
Yeah.
Cool, you can sit down, thank you. Good list, epic list.
Yeah.
So let's have, before we get started, let's talk about storytelling. How long have we told stories for? Forever. Writing's only been invented in recent modern history, so the way that we shared shared information, was telling stories and myths and legends, and all of these myths about gods and legends and all the things in the Bible were based on stories that were handed down throughout generations. And those stories, eventually someone wrote them down and put them in a few books. And everyone in this room is going to go, well, I'm not a great storyteller, I'm a great storyteller, I need to get better at storytelling. But storytelling is a part of our DNA, and Lum and I were talking about this just before. It's like storytelling is practice, but it's something that's inherent in our DNA. Think about what's the most impactful movie that you've ever seen, and tell me, how did it make you feel? We've all got one. Fred,
All quiet on the Western Front.
Yeah.
Urban side.
how did it make you feel?
Connected to my father.
Yeah, thank you. You can give a round of applause. Thank you. What else?
Recently I've seen a good movie called Rock itself.
Yeah. And how did it make you feel?
Made me feel conscious about the time was spent.
Yeah.
And then we realized how it's emotions.
Yeah, and often we don't remember the story that was told in detail, but we're left with how we what?
Yeah.
And you know when they say with people, like it's like that person, they left an impact on you. It's not what they said, it's how they made you feel. So this is about feeling, it's about telling the stories in a way that create feeling. What I'm going to do, and everyone knows that knows me, that I love to tell stories. I'm going to share a story with you. But what I want to do is I want to share the story in a way, and I want you to, it's a cool story, but what I want you to do is have a look at it in a few different ways. Like look at it at how I'm telling it and the structure behind it, and know that I've told this story maybe 100 times. Cool? So, and it's a great story, but it's not a story that's kind of just thrown together. It's quite constructed. It's fact, but I want you to see the kind of the code behind it so that it's not magic. Is that cool? Because when we talk about storytelling, and I know we've all got businesses here, whether you're a coach or whether you don't, storytelling forms a part of our marketing. It's how we see the world, it's how the world sees us. Every time that we open up our mouth at a networking event, every time we write something on social media, it's all about telling a story. and the story that reflects us. Because are we our business, yes or no? Yeah. The business is just a reflection of us. So the more that we can tell stories based on that, the better we can connect with people. And what was the thing, Jerry, was like people do business with people they know, like, and trust. And how do we do that? By building what? Relationships and connection. And getting people to know how we feel and how we make them feel. Cool. Shall we do this?
Yes.
All right. Turn to the person next to you. Let's do it. Cool. Let's do it. All right. So by the time I was 19, I was doing pretty well in life. I had a car, an apartment, beautiful girlfriend. I was earning $26 an hour in the early 90s while my mates were earning $7. And at the time, it felt like the perfect life. But then, just before my 20th birthday, I realised that life had other plans for me. We were on the way to far north Queensland, and the driver fell asleep at 100 kilometres an hour. We ran into a bridge and flipped upside down, and we landed 35 feet down in a creek bed. And I lay there with upside down in the car with my leg burning on the engine block for 2.5 hours before they could cut me out. And by the time I got back to hospital, they told me I had a shattered neck, broken back, broken arm, a burnt leg, and a crushed foot. And I'd lost, in the first 3 days, about 16 kilos. I went from pretty much the size I am now down to 68 kilos in skin and bones in 3 days. And the doctors told me that there's a chance that I'd probably never walk again. And even though, like, the doctors told me that, somehow I just knew inside myself that I'd get back doing the things that I love to do. I'd get back riding, get back doing things that I love. But I did have my moments though. The male nurse tried to get me to go to the toilet, and I felt nothing, like physically, emotionally, and I felt myself hanging on by a thread, and I was slipping away at times, and I broke down crying because everything in my life had been taken away from me in that moment. And I'm sure we've all experienced pain and loss and suffering here with family and friends and our careers, all of these things. And I just kicked my family out of hospital because they're arguing over my hospital bed about who signed me in of all things. And what makes it worse is that people want to help with the best intentions, but they can never truly understand what we're going through. And I could have gone either way. But the male nurse screamed at me, he's like, Dan, you're better than this. Get your shit together. And that snapped me out of my little pity party, and thank God he did, because I realised that I wasn't a failure if I asked for help. That ultimately it took courage to ask for help. Who here in the room has had a mentor see something in themselves that they couldn't see in them? Show of hands. Because often it takes someone that's external to us to see the greatness inside us. And it was in that moment that I knew I needed all of my energy for myself. The doctors came up to me and they were like, Dan, you can stay in a hospital with the bolts in your head in traction, keep your spine straight for 3 months, or you can have experimental surgery where they take bone out of your hip, put it in your neck with a plate, and if they clear all the bone out of your spinal cord, there's a chance you could be up and walking in a few days. Surgery was a success, obviously, and I threw myself into rehab. And it's just like those ads that you see on TV, the old ads, like lift your knees, Katie, one step at a time. And I walked out of hospital after 6 weeks. I was very skinny, but with a cane, but I did it. But what I walked out to was not what I expected. I was so fatigued from walking to the car that I slept for a week, and I realised I had no energy for anyone, and I couldn't bear to look at myself. I had scars all over my body, let alone what my girlfriend thought. I knew that in that moment that my old life was gone, that I could never go back. And it wasn't my family I needed space from, it was everyone and everything. So I went walkabout, and I left everything behind, along with the trail of destruction. I never went back. I left my girlfriend crying on the doorstep, and I hitchhiked to far north Queensland with only what I could carry on my back. And in the same way, the young Indigenous fellas leave their tribes a boy and go walkabout, and 6 months later return a man. This was my rite of passage. And I was tested. I was fighting for my life every single day. And I don't want you to romanticise too much about walkabout, but I spent my days at waterfalls and beaches and beside rivers. just to be in the water to deal with the crushing pressure that was on my spine constantly. And at night, I slept beside rivers, in garages of new housing estates, wherever I could. And I was getting about $250 a fortnight from the government disability pension. And I was so skinny from my injuries and from the trauma that people would come up to me thinking I was a bum and give me pamphlets to get off heroin. It was crazy. And even though I had a small amount of money coming in, I was homeless. And there were times that I'm not proud of that I had to walk around Woolworths eating fruit and nuts just to survive. And I thought to myself, if only these people knew what I'd been through. I was living day to day, I was in survival mode. All my energy was spent just getting me in that water to get relief. And I'm sure we've all felt overwhelming pressure that we want to escape and do things differently. And for me, at first it was about escaping, but there was something about being out in nature that helped the healing process for me. And slowly, I got my mind, my body sorted out, and soon enough I went back to work. After 9 months, the doctor said I was crazy. He said, that's ridiculous, you need 2 years. And I went back because I was so sick of being broke. I was so sick of people judging me, thinking that I was a bum. But it was too soon, but I pushed through the pain and started to forge a new life for myself. And I think it was about 5 years after the accident, I got my payout. And I got lots of money. And what did I do over the next 3 years? I spent it all. Spent every last cent. I went skydiving, mountain bike riding, jet skiing, motocross. I jet ski out to islands and 50-knot winds up in North Queensland. Like I pushed the limits. And I went from course to course to course, trying to find out like why I was saved and what was my purpose in life. And as you do, or maybe not as you all do, when you first get your first big chunk of money, I made a fair few bad investment decisions. I listened to my brother, don't do that. Don't listen to family members with their financial advice, it doesn't work out so well. But people openly would come up to me and they would get so mad at me. My parents disowned me, but people would get so mad and they're like, Dan, how can you do this to yourself given all that you've been through? And I guess I did it to prove to myself that those injuries wouldn't hold me back from my life, hold me back from who I was. But I did get a little bit depressed. So I went and saw a physio, and I was telling him what everyone was saying. He said, Dan, he goes, keep doing whatever it is you're doing, because most people that have had your injuries, they give up, they fade away, and their heart stops and they're dead in 10 years because they fade away. And he said, as long as your muscles are strong, your bones will be okay. So I kept going, possibly a little bit too hard, and two things happened. I met this woman, she was a psychic or a clairvoyant or something, and she floored me. She said, Dan, if you don't slow down and stop running from the pain of when your dad left, when you're 4 years old, things won't end well and you won't meet your wife. And I was like, that was weird. And I crashed my bike and I ended up in hospital with bed again. I snapped my arm through here and had a heap of other injuries, and I was in hospital for another couple of weeks. And I never really thought about my dad and my behaviour in that way before, but somehow life was trying to teach me a lesson. And I wasn't exactly sure what that lesson was, but I knew I needed to change and fast. So I moved to Melbourne, and believe it or not, that's how I got stuck down here. I love it now, even with the weather. I met my now beautiful wife. And after a few years of meaningless jobs, I found myself a baby daddy-to-be, and I realised that I needed a career that would help me provide for my family. And it was in that moment that I realised challenge is good for us. Getting out of our comfort zone is good for us, and that's one of the reasons why I do what I do, because I know now that we don't have to wait for a crazy life event to shake us into action, to shake us to chase our dreams. And Susie, she goes, babe, by the way, on Friday you've got a job interview. And I was like, oh. She jumped online and applied for a job for me without telling me. And she said, oh, it's for a manager's gig. So we're in the car, we're driving to the job interview, and I'm like self-doubt mode, going, I can't be a manager, I've never been a manager. Self-doubt, story. And she turned and looked at me and changed my life. She just said, babe, you're better than any dickhead manager that I've ever had. So she just shut up and just go in there. And I just cracked up, broke my stay in a second. I went in there, nailed the interview. 6 months later, I was area manager, I had the keys to a brand new car. 3 years later, I was national brand manager. I had one of those fancy Virgin Gold cards. I was swanning in and out of Virgin lounges. They paid for me to do post-grad MBA. My phone rang all day and I loved it. There you go. That's it. Now I want to talk about that. Let's unpack it a little bit. What came up for you? What did you notice in the structure? How was I being? What did you feel? What impact did it have on you? Did you notice the layers and the progression of the story? Let's talk about it. Cynthia, you're nodding away there.
Yeah, because it just resonated so close to my life, and I actually forgot a lot about what happened to me when I was young.
Yeah.
I mean, I was diagnosed, I'm a cancer survivor, and I actually have to be honest with you, I forgot all about that. Who brought up that story? But the difference
Can we give her a Cynthia round of applause?
My parents told me, wherever you go, your body goes with you.
Yeah.
So you can't really run away, because you're not running away from the problem, you're actually running with the problem.
Yeah. Wherever you go, there you are.
So, you know.
I love that.
My life
Thank you.
just turned around because I went to go and study afterwards because I was in adamant to
Yeah, and
1982 and we're in 2020 and I'm still alive and they gave me 6 months then. So I believe it's mind over matter. The mind is strong.
I believe that too.
Sorry, so it just
Don't be sorry.
quite a lot.
Can we give Cynthia another round of applause? That's amazing. Thank you. I'm going to add to that because we forget. We forget that as humans, we've got short memories. We realise that we've got all of these things that we've achieved and overcome and shit that we've been through, shit we've dealt with, digging ourselves out of trenches time and time again. Yet, but we go to do this cool new thing, we're like, oh my God, going for a manager's job interview and I'm freaking out about it, yet not survived like a shattered spine. Everyone in this room, we all have the same thing. So the purpose of storytelling has got so many layers, so I love that. Thank you very much. And you can use that to help propel you even further forward now. So thank you. Cool, thank you. Anyone else? Annette?
The structure around where you were when you sort of started, what your positions or painted that picture, then it was like the defining moment of something that happened that changed your decision and then where you ended up. Now I'm sure there's more steps than that, but I've just simplified it.
Yes, thank you. Round of applause. Thank you, Annette. There's a structure to it. Like it's not magic. It's a structure that you can all use and implement. You just plug different parts of your story into the structure, and it makes it a lot easier. Whether you're a coach or a consultant or whatever you do with your marketing, you just plug the different pieces of the story into the structure that allows you to tell the story in a way, and it helps you. It's based on, and we're going to talk about it in a second, it's based on Joseph Campbell's Hero's Journey, which is something that I learned here at TCI, is building the story into the hero's journey, because every single Disney movie, every single movie that we see is all laid over the hero's journey. The Matrix, Star Wars, all of those movies that we love is all based on the hero's journey. Something happened, we came back with the gift and all that, so it's the structure that we can use. Thank you. Annette. Who else? Fred? And we'll come to you.
The question, do you have an inner strength, a belief in yourself that kept you moving?
Yes, but that was something that I learned. Yeah.
How did you learn?
It's one of those things that I think I know that we all have it inherent in us. It's the survival of the species. We must survive at all costs. But then it's going, and we'll talk about this in the positive psychology about resilience, some of us get stuck in survival. We're just surviving the whole time. And that was a story that I told myself, that I was a survivor. But when I'm only surviving, what am I not doing? Thriving. So we're built to thrive, But we have these things that make us just trying to survive. Got to get through the day, got to get through the day. But it's when we shift and we have that inherent belief in us, and it's inside us all, then we just got to tap it, and we've got to believe that we've got it as well. Because beliefs are just made up. If we believe something, we'll look for things in our lives to confirm those beliefs. So we can have limiting beliefs or empowering beliefs. And it's the ones that we choose, the empowering ones we choose to believe. We look for things to confirm that. That's how it shapes our lives. I think we give Fred a round of applause. Thank you. Stuart.
There's one thing that you said, if only they knew what I've been through. You felt that, and I've felt that so many times, guys, since I've been here. I've heard so many people's stories, self, like Cynthia's, and it's like I thought I was the only one that had this terrible bit of my past that I wish you know, if only you knew, but I've been hearing people who've been through all this sort of stuff, so I can sit in kind of the victim mode, whereas like, oh, you don't know what I've been through, I've been through all this kind of stuff, but hearing so many other people have been through and come out the other side, and it's just, I thought I was kind of the only one, like, you don't understand what struggle is or what that kind of stuff is, but hearing so many other people's stories, and like the whole story part of it is just how important it is, and it's not just my story, and how everyone else's story is just so much of an impact. That it's, brings me out of my kind of sort of stupid sort of being. So it's like, I'm not the only one. People have lived on and gone through it, and I stopped feeling the victim. And that, I've heard that, like you said before, if only you knew what I've been through. I've said that so many times in my head. It's just like, I think I'm going to stop doing that.
And Scott, keep going. We're in the right direction. We're in the right community. Because no one could ever truly understand what we've been through. And this is not about that. Do you get that? Like, no one could ever understand. And it's not about understanding. It's about us healing our journey and honouring that part of ourselves, but not using it as a boat anchor. Using it as something that we can use as rocket fuel to propel us forward. Like, that's the game. Because it's not, because like that, whatever this story is, our old story is bad and it's terrible, and but once we make peace with that, we can use that story to impact other lives and to create a successful business for ourselves. So that part of us is the vehicle. Does that make sense? So we can take that forward into the future. But telling it in a way, once we've healed it, Stuart, so we can tell it in a way that's resourceful. Cool? I love it. Thank you, mate. Thank you for your honesty.
What I kind of noticed that even a look at the story, they were obviously talking about a lot of different things, but in all of it, I could find mental points that I resonated with, but then it just said, oh, my father left us, please, yeah, you too, or your love for nature was, I had the feeling that all throughout the story it was, I would imagine it would be, I'm not saying it is, but in the way that you told it was very relatable.
Yes.
Talking about your family, your girlfriend, work, all sorts of things, the challenges that I think, not your story, but in little bits and pieces, there are things that I could relate to, a number of things.
Yes.
And I think, I enjoyed that.
Who feels that as well? I'll come to you in one sec. Who feels that? The relatability of my story.
Even though
none of you have experienced my story. And here's the magic. You want the magic?
Yes.
The gold? It's the art of telling the story. The hero's journey is so that for all of you, when you tell your story in a way that people can insert themselves into your story. You digging it? You feeling it? So that's the game, right? Like, so we tell the story in a way that people can insert themselves in this story, not like Dan's this superstar speaker, or he's been through crazy stuff, I could never be like him, or whatever it is, I've never had cancer. It's not that. We tell it in a way that people can insert themselves into our own hero's journey, and that inspires them.
When you told it, I wasn't even in the room. I was in the river, I was in the
Yes.
hospital, I was in school, and then all of a sudden I was back in the room.
Thank you so much. That's amazing feedback. Yeah, and that comes with practice. There's no magic. Like, it's very openly, when I first started doing this, I had like zero connection with anyone in any audience because I was kind of trying to work it all out, but it comes with practice. And the more we heal, the more we can feel, the more we connect. Make sense? Cool, thank you. And we'll take one more. Yes?
Yes,
What was your name?
Diana.
Diana, hello.
Hello. I noticed that although you told it so many times, for you it could be tedious, I don't know, but for us, the way you told it was realizing that there are people in the room that have never heard it. It could be the majority of us, and you told it in a way that we could each connect, like you were just saying.
Yeah,
That
thank you.
was interesting that you told it so many times that you felt you still had an emotional connection, but it wasn't impacting you to a point where you couldn't tell your story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And do you feel that? Like what Diana's saying? It's like, I can tap into the resourceful emotions of it, so I can share it in a way that makes you feel it, but not in a way where I'm like, I need to have a moment and get some tissues out. But that comes with the practice and the healing, so I can have resourceful access to your emotions. And that's not going to come on the first time you tell your story. The first time you tell your story, you're going to be a basket case. Do you know what I mean? Like, you are going to be tears and everything like that. Just don't make that the first time that you tell it on stage. Yes? The trees, oh my God, the trees, people think, and this is the hero's journey, you can take a photo of that later. This is how I mapped out my story. The trees love my story. Yes? Like, the trees heard my story thousands of times before anyone else heard it. People think I'm a bit of a weirdo down the parks and just talking to the trees. It's better than being like chaotic household, because I've got a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old boy, so they think I'm weird. So this is the hero's journey. And we won't talk too much about it because you saw the structure of it, but I'll flip this back over. Can we maybe get that stuck up on the thing?
Yep.
But this is the thing, the ordinary world, call to adventure. You would notice these elements in the story. The refusal of the call, then the meeting the mentor, the crossing the threshold, the test element, and this is the thing, the ordeal, freedom to live. I came back, returned with the elixir, came back into the new world, met the wife, got the great job, live happily ever after. But there's many hero's journey. There's my hero's journey from when I started coaching to where I am now. So there's more other layers of stories and hero's journey that I've been through. The same as all of you. Each time you get out of your comfort zone and level up in your life and start a new journey, it's another what? Exactly. Cool. That would be awesome, thank you. Yes?
Dan, when do you tell this story of yours? Is it at every session that you have with a new client, or at every group that you conduct?
No. At the start, when I first did my keynotes, I was a one-trick pony. That formed the basis. That formed the basis of the start of my talk, and then there was like an end part that I would share, like an extra bit based on what the clients wanted, like for a keynote. And then as we grow and tell more stories, we've got more. I've got different stories for different clients. I just did a keynote last week, which was about being defiant, and it did not have this story in it at all. There was elements of being defiant where I said the reason why I'm defiant is because these things happen, but I don't go into detail. So our stories evolve, and we adapt, and we have different keynotes for different things. But at the start, I shared it a lot. When I did free speaking gigs to real estates, I would start with that, and then I had an end piece to the story, which was about remembering what's important in your life before you have a train wreck, which is pretty good for busy professionals, yes or no? Because what happens to busy professionals, they fall off the cliff. So like that would be the start of it, to set up, and then I set up a whole nother frame going into awareness, remembering what's important in those things, and more stories, more hero's journeys, and they might be clients or other people's. Cool. How are we doing? Having fun? Yeah, thank you. And thank you for your engagement. I'm loving it. 4 stages of resilience. Now, the reason why I want to share this with you is because resilience is one of the things that, what happened to me is I got back to survival, but like we miss things. So the stage, I want to talk through the stage of resilience, and this is something that we learn at TCI in positive psychology. So the coaches in the room should know this, or I'll be on to you. What's the first stage of resilience? No?
Awareness.
But thank you. Keep going. There's no wrong with it. I was joking about that.
Resistance of the present situation.
It's the event. I'll help you out. Is that cool?
Thanks.
I don't mind hanging out here, but like when Wendy's like giving me like she's doing these ones. So it's the event. It's the event itself. What tends, well, not the event, but kind of around the event. What's happening in that moment when something bad happens to us? Are we thinking about the future, yes or no?
No.
We're kind of like in hospital or in the moment. We're full of tears, and is there a bit of blaming, a bit of denial, a bit of justifying? Who's done that? Cool, you're my people, thank you. So there's not much going on here. We're just we're in the thick of it. We are in the belly of the beast, if we think about the hero's journey. So we're in the moment. The next stage is survival. So this might be, when we're in survival, what might that be? What might we be doing? What's that?
In hospital.
Yeah, we're kind of getting by, yeah. Just getting through each day. We're showing up, we don't want to see anyone, but we're kind of getting out of the house a little bit, but we're dragging ourselves out. We might be going to work, but we are hating work. It's like, they don't know what I've been through. Yes?
They don't.
So the next stage is the new normal. So what's happening here?
You just get used to it.
You get used to how, yeah, thank you, Jerry. Yes. So what else is happening in the new world? Change. Yeah, because we're adapting to the new version of ourselves. With me, it was like I've got a plate in my neck, and I've got no feeling down this side of my body from here down. Like that's what I have to live with. For some people, it might be that your husband or your cat's died or whatever it is. It could be anything, but we're coming to terms. We're fully functioning now, but it's the new version of us. Yes? Cool. Now, this is one thing that I wish someone had have taught me back when I had my car accident. Because remember I said to you, I was trying to prove to myself that those injuries didn't hold me back from my life. I was rushing to here. Have we all done that? We're just rushing, we're fighting just to get some normality back in our life. And that's really, really normal to do that. We just want to get back to like, you know what? If I get back to new normal, I'm good. And that pain, I can say, well, I'm done with that now. But sometimes we don't heal the emotions that happen here. We just race to here. Who can relate to that? Now, positive psychology, and as I said, like I wish someone had have taught me this. Positive psychology tells us that there is another stage of resilience. Resilience, it's called transcendence. What does that mean?
That's the new normal in ideal circumstances being, this is what it is, and this is actually what needs to happen for me to become this person.
Yeah, so it's the next evolution of ourselves. So transcendence is using this event, cancer or whatever's happened to us, broken neck, to go, you know what, I was playing a small game in my life. I'm so much better than this. I'm worth so much more. I've got so many skills, so much about me that I've never shared because of fear or because of insecurities or whatever, to go, I'm going to go straight past where I was and play a bigger game. Who feels that they can play a bigger game? Share their gift to the world. Scary as it is. Yeah? Like, when I say this, I'm very respectful of the fact that this is scary. Because when we put ourselves out there and we share our story, what are we at risk of? Rejection, judgment, what else?
Not moving forward.
Not moving forward, yes, thank you. Failure. We risk failure or being seen. So we risk all of those things. But if we don't risk those things, what do we risk? Yeah, we risk not progressing. We risk regret. We risk showing up to our grave going, you know what? I could have done more, I could have done better. This is why this is so important, because this is what I wanted to share with you tonight. Like our old story, we can use that as rocket fuel. Like this, the event, what happened, whether it's cancer, whether each and every one of you have a different story, this is the rocket fuel to the new normal. To go, you know what? I'm going to start remembering, Cynthia, what I went through. That I went through that and I survived that, and if I can survive that, what else can I do? And that's when we use that old story as a vehicle for growth. Can we do that? Yes or no?
Yes.
Is it scary? Yes or no?
Yes.
Is it worth it? Yes or no?
Yes.
Cool. I love it. You digging it?
Yeah.
You feeling it?
Yeah.
We going too deep? Not deep enough? All right. Cool. Petra Mankova was a famous supermodel, and she went on holidays with her handsome man. It's like a good-looking man, and he had this. They went to Thailand, and he had the wedding ring, the $30,000 diamond ring, to Thailand, and he was going to propose to Petra Mankova at Thailand as a surprise. She didn't know it. And the tidal wave came in while they were swimming at the beach, smashed her 40 feet up in a tree, and she watched him get floated out to sea, never to be seen again. She was devastated. Her face was smashed up, her body was smashed up, and she saw the love of her life go out, and she found out that she was going to be married to this man. What she did was, when she came back down and she recovered, she used her looks, her network, because being a supermodel, you've got a strong network. So she used that event to start charities and orphanages all around Southeast Asia, because she had so much influence as a supermodel. She could have used that, and it gives me goosebumps every time I tell this story, that event that was just horrific, that we can never imagine, but think about how many children's lives that she saved as a result through transcendence. Cool? Digging it?
That's amazing.
It's a really heavy story, but like we think about, like, yes, that was tragic, but she's impacted so many people's lives as a result. Who wants to have a bit of fun?
Yep.
Cool. Turn to the best next year. I think it's about time we had some fun.
I think it's about time.
Give yourself a pat on the back. All right, cool. How are we going for time, Mary? Sorry.
20 minutes. It's very. You're good. You've got another 15. No, you've got another 25 minutes.
All right. Cool. Let's do this. What are you loving so far? What's coming up for you? What can you share? What are some of the standouts?
Story
Katie.
pulls on your heartstrings. It's so powerful.
Yes.
It moves you.
It moves us, doesn't it? Yes. Thank you. Thank you for coming. John.
The third voice that you mentioned, I guess something that we always maybe choose.
Yes.
We didn't have a way to language it.
Yeah.
But something that we say always.
I love that, John, because it's bringing the structure to the magic, rather than it just be something that someone does, and I could never do that. To, cool, I can just bolt my story into the structure. Thank you. Once I'll come to you, Steve.
I think the biggest takeaway for me is not so much what happens to you, but how you use it, or what you do with it.
I love that.
So, and in your story, I just loved hearing the highs and the lows, the highs and the lows.
it's the only thing that we can control. Come to your search. It's the only thing that we can control. We can't often control things that happen to us. We can try and stay safe, only as best we can. But even no matter how safe we are, like you can't do anything. It's like my mates, one of my old mates, he was like, they got rid of his kid's trampoline because they're like, oh, trampoline's apparently bad for kids' spine because it jars their spine. And his kid, like his little daughter, ran up and jumped on him, kicked him in the nuts, and he dropped her accidentally and she broke her arm. Like, what the hell? Do you know what I mean? Like, so life is going to happen to us, so we can do our best to stay safe, but life is always going to come to us. I go Steve and then Chunky.
I love that, like, no one can succeed on their own. This, when we all tell the story, we're all doing, and you're right, it just connects me to you now, and I'm more open to everything else that you can talk about, and vice versa. So
Yes.
it's really good communication.
Yeah, thank you. Who sees that? That stories are the fastest bridge between two people. Does that mean people?
Yeah, it's a truck.
Oh, cool. I was thinking it was my battery on the... Yeah, stories are the fastest connection between two people. It's like laughter, but we connect through stories. Thank you, Steve. Shanky?
So for me, you can use the story and that medium to inspire people, not only to inspire, but also influence them for them to reach their potential.
Exactly. I love that. Yes, thank you. Because that's the whole idea of sharing our story. Whether it's sharing it with your best friend, or if you're in a coaching conversation, you share a metaphor that can help the client, or whether you're in business. So thank you, Shanky. I'll take one more. Thank you.
It's the idea that I can put my story into a format that will help the
Yeah. Yeah. And who feels that it takes a little bit of the pressure off?
Yeah.
We can just go, oh, cool. And then it allows us, when we have that framework, sometimes we have systems and structures, it takes the pressure off, so we can just go, cool, that's not magic, I can just follow the system. Cool. And it reduces a little bit of overwhelm as well. Not that anyone in this room's ever been overwhelmed, right? we don't even talk about that, we'll delete that. I didn't even say that. Can we have some fun?
Yeah.
Yes.
Shall we have some fun?
Yes.
Right now?
Yes.
All right. What we're going to do is you, as in we, as in all of us, are going to tell some stories. Shall we do it?
Yes.
Turn to the person that we shall.
Yes.
We shall. And this is what you're going to do, if you choose. You are going to read this, and you're going to, the 4-step framework, because this is just a simpler version. This is like the inept version of the whole hero's journey, right? Like the simpler version that for today's exercise, we're going to spend a little bit of time. You're going to pair up with someone that you don't know, if you're okay with that. Otherwise, pair up with someone that you feel safe with. It's up to you. And you're going to do as simple as this. Is it okay to stuff it up, yes or no?
Yes.
Does anybody care if you stuff it up?
No.
Cool. So can we just rock out?
Will we even know if it's
Exactly. That's the thing, right? Like we just want to make sure that it's just like, this is, and if you cry, it's okay, because this isn't a stage. When you tell it from stage, we tell it resourcefully. Cool? All right. You're going to do this. What was life like? Life was like this. Then the journey. What happened and how did you handle it? This happened and I did this. And then you go, how is life different as a result of what you did to drag yourself out of the hole? Yep? Still with me?
Yep.
And then you're going to say, and then you're going to share the gift. Share how you did it so others can replicate. So it's not magic, it's a system. Make sense?
Yep.
Shall we do it?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Stand up. Because we have to stand up, we need to pair up. Jan, you can help people pair up.
It's an odd number. So,
Just go one of the crew.
yeah, that's me.
They should be sharing as well.
So we go with Susan. Does that work? Can everybody find a friend?
Cool, let's go. All right, so everyone pair up and then we'll get started. So pair up, come on, pair up, John, grab someone. Yeah, Chunky. Go, John. All right, so we pair up. All right, everybody listen. Everyone listen. Can we get a timer? Can we get a timer?
How long do you want?
5 minutes each. Just listen. Everyone listen. Everyone listen. I know everyone's really excited to share the story, so that's really cool. All you're going to do is, this is the cheat sheet. If you just need to look at that, and go, okay, what was life like this? So, and then you're going to spend 5 minutes each, and it's going to be clunky, and it's going to be, maybe it might be awkward, maybe not. Just have fun. You can go as shallow or as deep as you like. You can talk about, you don't need to go deep if you don't feel like it, but if you want to, you can. But it's in the telling of our story what happens. We heal a little bit of ourselves every time we share our story. Cool? All right. Start the 5 minutes. So one person does 5 minutes and we'll give you a yell out when the time is finished, and then we'll do another 5 minutes. Cool? That looked amazing. Everyone was deep in the story. Now, I would love to unpack this for the next hour. Do we believe that we can unpack this for the next hour? Next 3 hours? But we can't. So we've got 10 minutes. So let's do our best to unpack it in the next 5 minutes. Is that cool? Can we do that?
Yes.
Now, I want you to tell me what came up for you, what did you love, what did you learn, what can you share, what did you dig about it? Because I was looking at a few individual different groups, and you were very much focused and on the other person telling the story, and that's a real gift in itself. What do you do when you do that for someone? You hold the space for them, don't you? You honour them. You're honouring the fact that their story is worth sharing, which means that you're honouring yourself to be that person to that person. Does that make sense? Cool. All right, who's going to share first? Who wants to be brave? Colleen, hello. Give her a round of applause.
So telling the story actually brought up the fear that I used to have and the realisation of how brave I become. Yeah.
Wow. I love that. Can we give Colleen another round of applause? Sometimes that's what it takes, isn't it, to language what we've been through, that we realise, hang on, I've been through some stuff. And when we know that, we can use that to progress even further. So thank you so much. Thank you for your honesty. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage to share our story with a stranger as well. I love that. Thank you. Everyone just let out a big sigh. I've got goosebumps. You know, you can be saying it.
I have got goosebumps, and I just want to say that what Stu shared with me was incredibly courageous, and he was very confident, and I think he gets this stuff, and I want to thank him for. I feel very honoured that he shared that with me.
Can we give both of you a round of applause? And the gifts for both of you. Is storytelling a one-way street, yes or no?
No.
It's a two-way street. It's like when you give someone a compliment and they go, oh, it was nothing. By doing that, you're not honouring the person. So when we're telling stories, it's a two-way, like for a story to be told, there has to be a receiver. Yeah? So thank you. Thank you for being there for it. Awesome. Michelle.
I think the thing that came up for me was sharing my story, that I no longer feel shame around my history, my past story. That was one of the first times that I've actually really been able to express it and certainty that this is what happened, this is what's come out of it, and that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Is it better than okay?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Yes. I love it. Thank you, Michelle. Round of applause. there's just so many things I want to say to you. Like we were speaking with Colleen and with Stuart, it's the courage. It's the courage that it takes, but it's what, like, people think that we've got to be courageous and then we do something. But it's in the doing of something that we become courageous. You feel that? Even though it's scary. Thank you. Yeah, well, vulnerability is courage. People think that vulnerability is crying and oversharing. Vulnerability is courage. Vulnerability is risk-taking. It's the risk that we don't know the outcome, but we do it anyway when we speak our truth. Fred?
Is it a sort of a giving within ourselves?
Yes. Yeah. Well, we share a piece of us every time we tell a story. But that's the gift for someone else, is when we share a part of us with care and vulnerability, and it's honouring the other person. Thank you. You give Fred a round of applause. Thank you.
I think I just realised that I've done so much in my life and I've had so much happen to me in my life. And you tell these stories, and I've just realised that my last year of being in my own business has given me so much joy. I can tell these stories and say, but I'm starting in my life now.
Wow.
So that's what it was, because this is more exciting. And I think the older I get and the mistakes that I've made, and I can be the bigger person to learn by my mistakes, it just takes you to a completely different life.
Yeah. It's creating the next version of who you are.
100%.
And I love it. I want to share, and I want everyone to just remember to think about that one point that you shared. Like, when is the only time?
Now.
It's living in the moment, in the present. And when we get overwhelmed, sometimes we think about an imaginary future that hasn't even happened yet. Cool. I hear from one more person. Shanky.
And also, like, the more you share your story, it makes you come to a conclusion about you are in your life. Because like initial stages, you become emotional, you start crying, and then it comes to a point that you can just say as it is, and just so that other people can take something out of it, some relatability. Other than you become good. Most of the time, like the very first time when you share the story, you kind of share from the victim part of it.
Yes.
But as time goes by, you become the hero. You become almost a hero, and you can feel.
Yeah. He's coming to give us the hammer as a speaker. It's like, you go to this is placator, this is the thinker. It's meta 3, facilitator jargon, that's okay. Yeah, thank you. And what I want to talk about that is that this is what we're here for. And I hope that tonight that's helped you all with your own hero's journey and how you can embrace that. Like what Shanky said, is embrace those stages of our hero's journey so that we can tell our story, so that we can insert other people, like what Emma said, insert their story into our story. Because our story matters. Turn to the person next to you. Yeah, it matters. Now, nothing happens without action. Because we put rules and conditions on our lives. I'll be happy when. I'll do more exercise when. I've always wanted to do ... But we can't wait any longer. We are at a crisis point. And it took hospital trips for me to stop waiting and start acting, to stop settling with good enough and not great. Les Brown says that our ideas and our dreams were given to us for a reason. And it's our duty and our destiny to bring them to life. And to make an impact with your story in 2020, you need to go on a journey. And when we go on a journey, we don't necessarily have to have it worked out, but at some stage we have to trust that we can handle it. And the call to adventure is that moment when you say to yourself, yeah, my story is worth it. And then I can make a difference and I can make an impact. And I hope that today is that call to adventure for you. Turn to the person next to you, shake their hand and thank them for witnessing the start of the journey to you. Thank you. yourselves a massive round of applause. So I just want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for being so open and so vulnerable and sharing and gifting your story to everyone else and making us all feel so welcome, because I think this is such an important space. Can we just do one thing before we finish up? Can we give the amazing crew a massive round of applause for the announcements?